Trump is setting up China to take over the world. Not intentionally, of course, but I can explain how this is occurring and why this is not necessarily a bad thing. First of all, if you would think of this like a game of Risk, we basically have had three really powerful players on the board. We've had China, Russia, and the United States as the leader of NATO. Now we've had two major events occurring. The first of all is, of course, Russia invading Ukraine, revealing itself as not nearly as powerful as we thought and being very drained by the conflict with Ukraine. The other thing is Trump taking over the United States and basically creating conflict between the United States and between everyone else in the world. This has resulted in something of a division between the United States and between NATO, which basically makes it so we have four players on the board. We have the United States, we have NATO, we have Russia, and we have China. Now, if you've ever played Risk, you would know that if you're in a situation where uh, some of the players are battling it out and fighting against each other while another power is just building things up. Eventually, those other players, whether or not it's like, so we're looking at three, if you have two of them, or consider the possibility of having three of them, where they're all fighting each other, becoming weak, while one other party is becoming just building up and strengthening itself and becoming more powerful. Of those other two or three, one could, crumble completely, and then you only have two other powers, but they're very weak because they've been battling it out. This type of scenario is setting up that other party to just completely be able to dominate and take over on the board. In our world, we've had those three main parties. They've both been they've all three of them been very powerful to the degree that uh, that Russia, China, United States, neither of them would take a real shot at each other because they realize that the other parties are just simply too strong. That situation has completely changed. Now, economically, even if nothing else happens and China decides not to be imperialistic and decides to just merely continue on with kind of economic trying to develop itself and become more powerful, they're set up really well to be able to take over and to be able to gain power on this board that we have. But if they do decide to take the military in to be imperialistic, Russia on the board is starting to look very weak. Now, people could think, well, China's been supporting Russia. They wouldn't go against them. They've been partners with them. Really, in this game, though, that that whole situation is just working to China's advantage because China has been being paid for all the support it's been given to the United States. And really, the longer this prolongs, the more frustrated the Russian population becomes because they're suffering while their people are being killed off, while so much more of their economy is being devoted towards supporting the war. So the average person is suffering. The longer this goes on, the more weakened the population is, and the more quickly they would just simply surrender if China would decide to invade them. I don't know if that's going to happen, but the point is this all plays to China's advantage in either scenario, whether or not they decide to just keep on building and trying to dominate economically, or if they do decide to use the military and actually decide to be imperialistic. And of course, NATO has a lot of does have economic power, but they haven't been really well developed militarily. The States has, but the States is very internally divided because people don't want to just be a puppet of the oligarchy, be slaves that are working for menial laborers, knowing that Trump and the oligarchy is just sucking up all the wealth. So internally, there's a lot of conflict in the United States, And economically, their position in the world has been very much weakened because of this. They won't be able to be taking as much advantage. And just proportionally, the states or China is outmaneuvering them. So the question is, in this scenario, well, is this necessarily a bad thing? And I would say I'm not totally sure. So on the positive side, it does seem like China is actually being a country which is actually working to support its citizens, developing a lot. Their standard of living across the country has been increasing, has been getting better. So at least internally towards themselves, it's been looking like a pretty decent country. But I don't know if China will be a country like the States has allowed for diversity, has promoted diversity. We've had throughout history, you know, different groups warring with each other according to their culture, whether or not they've been German or French or British or whatever it happens to be. People have been separated into these groups. That has changed. We've been getting along. We've been working together. So we haven't had as many conflicts as there typically has been inside world history. So China could look at that and say, look, that's worked out pretty well for us and for the world. We're going to continue with that, and we're going to embrace diversity, and we're going to work together. That's for sure how it's presenting itself. I don't know if that's really what they're thinking, but if they keep on going with that, I don't mind at all. If China will be a benevolent leader of the world, doesn't bother me at all. Uh, I would say that there is some nervousness in the context of this, that they will decide to just be more genocidal, imperialistic leaders of the world, as so many other groups have in the past, recent history as well. That's where we are. I'd encourage you to think about this and to develop it more on your own and talk about it with other people.